Hey, what's up, guys? Video. This is the cool question. I love this question. These are the questions I can't wait to answer. Just because it's tournament fishing, and I'm a tournament junkie. Always have been. So here's a question, right? What are the things that people are misunderstood about tournaments, or don't know what they're getting into, or things that if they're going to start tournament fishing, you know, what are we missing? What are things that are untold? Let's start. I'm right out here in front of my boat. I'm looking at my boat, okay? And my boat and my truck, rarely is any of this going to be about actual catching fish in a sense of like the fishing stuff aspect of it. What I'll say is this: what people forget is how to pack their boat, how to pack their truck, and what all you're going to get in, and a whole bunch of other things. But I'm going to start there. One is real quick. I pack everything in my truck and boat. So I laugh about the boat deal because if you look at my boat, it's packed. It is packed to everything's in there. Everything I can possibly fit that I would try to fit in there is in there. This boat is weighted down with tackle because I want to make sure I have everything, or at least I think I have everything, right? And I think that's what cracks me up about when guys ask, like, how fast is my boat? And I go, I don't know. I have no clue. I mean, I just run it, right? I mean, sometimes my live wells are full. Sometimes there's 2 people in it. Sometimes there's not. But I can tell you one thing. My boat's loaded. It's probably not the fastest boat. Not because the boat's not fast. Just because of how much stuff I got in it. I got it all in there because I care more. I don't care about going 3 miles an hour faster. I care more about making sure I have something in the boat that I need. Okay, that's number one. Number 2 is this. Y'all seen my line videos, right? Where I have my sunline bag. Things like that I've acquired over years. I'm like, if something goes wrong, right? Rods, reels, everything, I have all my line in there. Okay, I bring so many maybe rods, it's crazy. Like backup rods to backup rods in the boat. I try to sometimes go out there with less rods. No, I have as many as I can stick in them rod lockers, and then my freaking front deck's full of them. Okay, there's a reason. I just want to be prepared. That's why I have 3 36-volt impulse lithiums in there, right? That's why I have 2 12-volt lithiums for my graphs. I'm probably going to get another live scope transducer for a backup in case that one goes out. It's why I have multiple graphs on here. I don't have 6 or 7 graphs like some guys have, but I will say one thing. I wanted 4 of the same graphs for a reason. That reason is one of the graphs goes out, I have a backup, right? I know I got 4 of them and they all serve a purpose, but to get me by in a pinch, I can switch one of them out, or I can just use the other one for that. Now, the problem with tournament fishermen, and I did this video the other day about live wells, right? And the amount of people that have fished tournaments that have never lost a fish, I don't believe them. I don't believe them, or let me say this. Maybe they've never lost a fish. Maybe they've only fished 3 tournaments in their lifetime. Maybe there's 1,000 different things. I guess they've had a boat that the live well's never gone out in. I mean, I've owned, I don't know how many boats, and in all my years of fishing, every boat that I've ever owned, I've had a live well pump or an aerator pump or something get clogged up or something happen, right? Every single boat I've ever had. And anyone on here that has never had a problem with that is, I think, a liar. I'm just gonna say it. I think you're lying. I bring that up because, like, oh, I've never had a dead fish. Well, man, I don't know how many guys I've talked to that have come in there and said their live well pumps stopped working, or this happened, or whatever. I mean, they're not exactly bulletproof, guys. You get line wrapped around them, you get things clogged up, you get scales in there. All kinds of stuff can happen. I've had power go out in a boat before. I've had dead batteries before. I've had it all, which will all kill your fish if you stop aerating. So all that stuff about them never having a dead fish in a tournament, which means they fish very few tournaments, right? Or they've never really owned a boat, because I swear all of this stuff has happened to me before. That's why I brought up the pure oxygen. Pure oxygen almost eliminates all that, everything. Listen, things out here, and I'm gonna get, this has a point to it, I promise. things out here are great when everything's working perfectly. If you just wake up in the morning and slap on your, shirt, shoes, and grab your hat and sunglasses and go off to the lake, and great day, right? I don't know how many flats I've had going to tournaments. I don't know how many times I've gotten flats on my trailer, right? I can't tell you how many times things have happened to my boat that are unexpected. I can't tell you how many things, people getting wrecks. Everything's great when everything's perfect. But dude, fishing isn't perfect. I've been fishing a long time, and anything and everything that's almost ever happened has happened to me. So the unexpected things that happen in tournaments are really what I prepare for. The perfect days, oh my gosh, I pray for those. But those almost never happen. Now I will say they're happening more and more to me because I'm so absolutely prepared. Like I've had really good luck this year on my boat and my stuff, right? My Garmin graphs, my Garmin trolling motor, my Impulse batteries. When you have, and I'm just going to make another video, and I still am, about the success I've had this year, and I owe it a lot to my setup. I really do. I have to. But those are things, you ask me what are like the unexpected things, those are things we can't control. And so breakdowns in tournaments, you get 3 days of practice, and all of a sudden your trolling motor goes out and you have to go spend a day up there getting it worked on instead of being out there on the water. Your graph goes out, you have to fix that. Something happens to your power poles, you have to fix that. We got so much stuff on our boat, and sometimes things go wrong, right? And we're on brand new lakes. We either have to find a service trailer if they have one. If not, we got to call up buddies. We got to do this. We got to work on our own. We got to figure things out. I mean, I can't tell you how many boats I've borrowed to fish the next day. I mean, these are all things we've had to do. And what I think some people is they just look at it as fishing. And in a lot of these young guys and guys that just start, they just get in and they just go, they haven't had years of all this other stuff, right? So they've had like, they're brand new, and they get out there and they have one of those years where nothing goes bad for them in the sense of like mechanical stuff, and they're just out there. This fishing stuff's easy, and all of a sudden you see them a year or two later, and sometimes they don't have the same year. And then all of a sudden you're like, man, this happened to me at this tournament and this and this. And I'm like, yeah, man, I understand completely. I understand how hard it is too out here. That like so much of what we do is out of our control. And that's what I would say is a lot of everything else is very controlled. Many sports are very controlled, right? A lot of sports, the basket's always 10 foot, right? The football's a little bit different because you play it outside, but in a stadium, it's all, like it's going to be perfect, right? Everyone tries to make the variables the exact same, okay? We don't have that luxury. And we don't all get the same boats. We don't all have the same equipment. We fish on the same lake. And that lake changes crazy because of weather. So what I'll say is this, is the uncontrollable things are the hardest part of fishing. The fishing part sometimes is it can be hard. But when you start messing with all the stuff that's bad, oh my gosh, that's when fishing becomes really tough. When you have to deal with all the adversity that comes along with it. And I always tell people that, I mean, someone's been doing it for a long time, they understand that. That's why when I got all those comments about those guys that were like never lost a dead fish, I'm going, one, probably never put 2 9-pounders in a live well before that you caught out there in 28 foot of water in the summertime and it's 100 degrees. Is it like, can you keep those alive? Yeah, you can. I guess those guys have never hooked one in the tongue, right? I guess they've never had a live well go out. I guess they've never had batteries go dead on them in a tournament, right? All these things everyone that I know that has fished for over 10 to 15 years in tournaments, I swear I don't know a single person that hadn't happened to. All those, all in one, like it happens. It happens for all sorts of different reasons. And so, yeah, when I hear that stuff, I'm like, yeah, it's not the same. It's not, okay, maybe they're not liars, but they live in a very, very little protected bubble that they're fishing like their Tuesday nighters on, right? And they're fishing for 3 hours and like, yeah, I drove around and my fish were fine. Man, come down here. Come down here. Every one of us down here knows how hard it is to keep fish alive. And when it's 106 every single day right now, you know how much ice you'd have like, it's so hard to keep ice and all that stuff, and you can do it. But man, there's times where it doesn't matter how good you are. You're gonna have a fish die on you. It can happen. It happens to all of us. Every single one of us. Because you might hook it in the tongue, all kinds of things. That ties so much into all this, because I've never had a trolling motor. I've had trolling motors break. I've had grafts break. I've had motors go out. I've had, you name it. You name it, I've had it. That's the stuff that's hard to prepare for. That's the stuff I try to prepare for, though. Those are the things I care about. If I do bad in a tournament, I want it to be because of fishing, like because I didn't catch them. I hate, and I've done videos of this, right? Losing a fish or breakdowns. I hate the breakdowns worse. I can handle losing a big fish, but the breakdowns are way worse. Those are out of your control. You had nothing to do with those sometimes. So second is, like, there was some other stuff in there about like who to trust and who not to trust. I trust about less than 10 people, and it's not that I don't trust them. It's just I have learned that there's certain guys I can't even talk to about fishing. They're not lying to me. The problem is they don't think like me, and if you don't think like me and I don't think like you, then it's worthless to talk to you. So even when like Holman knows me so much, and when I asked him about Eufaula, and I was like, hey man, do I need to know anything? And he just laughed, and he basically did this. He basically pointed. He said, go that direction. I said, really? He goes, just go that direction, you'll be fine. I said, all right. That was the information I got from Holman. He just pointed in a direction and said, go that direction. Said, go, like, you'll see, when you get down there, you'll, like, do your thing. And I talked to him after the tournament and told him where I caught him and how I did it. And he's like, yeah, it wasn't what he was thinking. But he was like, some of it was not what he was thinking, but he knew that I just needed a direction to be pointed in, right? If not, I wouldn't have talked to anyone, because I wouldn't have trusted anyone else. He didn't give me a spot, waypoint, nothing. He just said, go that direction. A lot of times I don't get that, and that's fine too. Because I'd rather, a lot of times when people tell me stuff, they're not lying. It just doesn't pan out the way, I don't fish like them, I don't think like them. There's 1,000 different things. So like, it's not a who do I trust or not trust. It's just, over the years, I'm like, there's very few people I'll talk to about fishing when it comes to that stuff, because me and Russell are great, because we fish so much together that me and him understand what each one other's talking about, and we understand how each other fish. But for the most part, the other guys, I mean, areas, or when I say areas of the lake, like 10-mile sections of the lake are like phenomenal. If you're like, hey, just go that direction, or go north, go south, stay in the middle. Like, oh, okay. Like, hey, don't even go to that side of the lake, just stay on the other side. Cool. That, to me, that information is like gold to me. I'm just like, I'm sitting there going, oh my gosh, I just got the juice. And someone's like, you didn't get anything. I'm like, yeah, I did. I got everything I needed. I'll figure out the rest. So I think people rely too much on other people. I think it puts them in a bind. I think they talk. I remember so many tournaments where like I refuse to go to gas stations, or I don't hang out with a lot of them guys, because like I don't want to listen to the talk. I don't like the talk. It's the doc talk, or just people, whatever it is. I could do a 100 video series on what I've heard before tournaments, and I just shake my head. Now I do. Before it kind of got to me when I was younger, I almost believed it. But now I don't believe any of it. It's just, they're not lying or what, I don't know what they are. It's just hilarious to me. But, you know, find one or two guys that you can trust, in a sense of, you know, they're not leading you astray. I'd rather a guy not tell me anything than lead me astray, right? I want a guy who kind of like, you know, and I'm talking about like roommates and things like that. I think you need it helps to have someone that you can just talk about things with. You don't have to, like, it's not specific stuff, right? Every once in a while it might be specific, but it's just like talking about the lake. Like, hey man, you seen a shad spawn today? No, I didn't see any. Hey, I saw a shad spawn going on these rocks. I'm like, oh, it's going on. Things like that, right? Things like, hey man, I caught a bunch of fish out deep today. You're like, oh really? I'm like, oh, I might go try that. Simple, basic fishing stuff. Hey, I caught some off boat docks. Really? Yeah, man, just, you know, real shallow boat docks. I'm like, all right, cool. And leave it at that, rather than the guy, you know, these other guys doing, you know, I had, you know, 25 bites today, and you didn't realize, they didn't really tell you anything about it, and you find out he's throwing some little small bait and freaking 23 of them were short. That doesn't help you. I had a guy one time tell me, like, hey man, I'm go fish points, man, they're on points and blah blah blah. Man, I went and fished points and stuff. I found out after the tournament he caught him off of 1 point. I'm like, hey, that wasn't a pattern, that was a spot. It's a big difference. Those things, getting a good roommate or a good traveling partner is like freaking huge, and that's a guy you can trust and do all that stuff with. So that's helpful if you're going to be traveling around like that, or just in general. I mean, I need to have a whole, I think I've done a video on fishing partners, but good fishing partners, it is kind of hard to find. That's maybe a little helpful. Maybe there might be some more about, hey, is there any other topics about this that you want to know about? Because there's probably a lot more. I want to ramble on for 2 hours about this. Anyways, hope that helps, guys. See y'all.